Prudent Scholars in association with Goa Headmasters Association.
Welcome back to the second part of the first lesson, Resources and Development. Today we are going to study about soil. Under this, I have categorized 3 different sections to study soil, and it's very interesting. First, we shall study why soil is a resource. Soil is a resource because it is a slowly renewed resource that provides most of the nutrients needed for plant growth and helps purify water. What is soil? It is a thin covering of most of the land. It is a complex mixture of eroded rock, mineral nutrient, decaying organic matter, water, air, and billions of living organisms, most of them which are microscopic decomposers. So, soil is a very important resource. How is soil formed? This is an internal factor that contributes to the kind of soil, while these are external. Why is this an internal factor? Because the soil is basically a result or a product of the kind of the parent rock, which will determine its color, texture, chemical properties, mineral content, and the permeability of the soil. The external factors that affect soil are climate and features of climate such as temperature, rainfall, weathering, humus, wind, and other erosional features. Relief. What is the altitude, the slope of the land, how much of soil gets accumulated in a place? Microorganisms, the flora and the fauna also contribute to the soil formation, the type of soil and the time. Soil takes years to form. So, depending on the time factor, you will get the thickness of the soil profile. This is the soil profile. We must have seen this when there is any hill cutting or anything going on. This is the A horizon, which is the topsoil. There is humus and there is vegetation here. Then you have got the B, the C and the bedrock. This is the bedrock or the parent rock that we referred to earlier. Based on these, the various chemical and the other factors will determine what kind of a soil you are going to get. Classification of soil. Soil in India is basically divided into 6 different types. They are alluvial, which is most interesting. Second is black soil, red soil and yellow, red and yellow soils, laterite soils, arid soils and forest soils. We have a map that distributes the different types of soil in this. You will see that most of central India is endowed with black soils. You will find red soils towards the eastern part of the country and the extreme northeast. We have got laterite soils along the west coast of India. The alluvial soils form like a cap over the black soils here, because these are contributed or these are formed due to the contribution of the rivers. So, the rivers that come from the north and the rivers that flow eastwards, giving it a whole eastern boundary of alluvial soil. We have got forest soils right up here wherever we have got our mountains here and here, and we have got arid soils in the extreme western part, because that gets cut off from the Aravalli Mountains as a result of the Aravalli Mountains, making it arid. Alluvial soils. These soils are most fertile and widely spread in the country. As you have already studied in the previous classes, alluvial soil is formed due to the deposition of fine silt or alluvium, which is brought down by the rivers. You will see, as explained earlier, it is found in the northern plains, Gujarat plains, and in the east coastal plains. It is made up of sand, silt and clay. You can remember this as SSC, the examination that you are going to answer. It is also divided into two types. One is the Kadir and the Bangar. Now why these? Because Kadir is the new alluvium which is replenished and brought down yearly, while Bangar is the old alluvium which gets deposited in the valleys. It also contains chemicals such as potash, phosphoric acid and lime, and so it is very fertile and good for the growth of sugarcane, rice, wheat and pulses. Let us study a little more on the formation of these alluvial soils. These are the Himalayan mountains from where the rivers come down. You will see that with the steepness of the Himalayas, there is a lot of erosion taking place over here. All the erosional matter, big in size or referred to as the load, is dropped here at the foothills of the Shivaliks, which gives it a region known as Barber. Further down you will see a marshy swampy area known as Thirai. This is because all the water from here re-emerges to the surface in the Thirai region. Therefore, it is abound with a lot of vegetation and animal life. As the river flows further down, you will see that towards the ends you will have the Bhangar, which is the old alluvium, and the new alluvium, which is Kadir, is replenished every year. Coming to the heights of the mountain, if we have these lofty mountains, the greater Himalayas, the lesser Himalayas and the Shivaliks, you will see that it is from here that as the water comes down from the Shivaliks, erosion takes place, and this matter, as it comes further down the Shivalik mountain, you will see transportation of the eroded matter taking place. This eroded matter, once it comes down the mountains at the foothills of the Shivalik, it forms a huge area with the load that it brings of this huge matter. See the matter here? You can make out that it is big chunks of rocks and stones. This is referred to as the Barber. We do not have the Barber in our syllabus this year, but you studied about it last year. And it is good if you know a little bit about Barber so that you can learn about the Thirai region. Now, from the mountains, you will see that whatever comes down, all the material is brought down into a region which is referred to as the Piedmont Plains. So, all these, the Barber, the Thirai, all become the Piedmont Plains. Now, the Barber is a narrow, porous, northernmost stretch of the Indo-Gangetic Plains. It's about 8 to 16 kilometers wide at the foothills of the Himalayas or the Shivaliks. Rivers descending from the Himalayas bring down their load and deposit it as alluvial fans. These merge to become the whole region which is referred to as the Barber or the Barber Belt. This region is comparatively narrow in the east, but it is quite broad in the northwest. We have another term known as the dwarves in our textbook. These also are regions which at the foothills of the Shivalik that have a lot of water in them. Here you can see the Thirai region. These are the mountains, the Himalayas. These are our hill countries, and you will see that here we have got the Thirai region. These are the plains of Thirai. So, the mountains, when they bring their water and they deposit all the big load over here, you will see it seeps down the slope to give us this wide stretch of the Thirai region. The Thirai. It is an ill-drained dam or a marshy area which is forested. You will see it runs parallel to the Barber. It's about 15 to 30 kilometers wide. The streams underground from the Barber Belt, which had those big boulders, re-emerge in the open to form this Thirai region. It is a thickly forested region which provides shelter to a variety of animals. We have got the Jim Corbett National Park in Uttarakhand and the Kaziranga National Park in Assam, which lie in the Thirai region. Most of the Thirai land is located in Punjab, Uttar Pradesh and the Uttarakhand, which people have taken advantage of the water available and converted it into agricultural land, giving good growth and a good produce of rice, sugarcane and wheat. This is a picture of the Thirai. Then comes the alluvium, the Bhangar and the Khadar. Now Bhangar is the older alluvium which is found along the river beds, forming terraces in the higher than the floodplains, because the floodplains are occupied by the Khadar. While Khadar is composed of newer alluvium which form along the floodplains or along the banks of the rivers. The Bhangar is often impregnated with calcareous material known as kankar. Kankar can be found as nodules, black nodules. However, Khadar, it's the new layer of alluvium which is deposited by the mountains every year. It is replenished every year, and therefore this makes the land very fertile, and we find them along the banks of the river Ganga. With this, we finish about alluvial soils. Let's go on to the black soils. Black soil, as the name suggests, is black in color. You can see the picture. It is often also referred to as the Regur soil or the black cotton soil, any one of these names. The Regur soils are called black cotton soil because they are black in color and they are good for the cultivation of cotton. It is made up of extremely fine clayey materials. It has the capacity to hold moisture. So, the moisture holding capacity of the water is immense. These soils develop deep cracks during summer, which helps in the aeration of the soil. Even when plants are grown, there has to be enough of oxygen for the roots to breathe and to grow. These soils are sticky. Remember, they are clayey in nature, so when the first rains begin, they become very sticky and they need to be ploughed or tilled no sooner the pre-monsoon showers strike. These are found in the Deccan Tract of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. These soils are basically formed due to the weathering of the volcanic rock. They are very rich in potash, calcium carbonate, magnesium and lime. However, they are poor in phosphoric content. Red and yellow soils. These red and yellow soils develop on crystalline igneous rocks. They take a red color when they have got diffusion of iron in them, so they turn red, and it looks yellow in the hydrated form. These are mainly seen in areas having low rainfall, basically on the eastern and the southern part of the Deccan Plateau. You will also find traces of these soils in the states of Orissa, Chhattisgarh, southern and the middle parts of the Ganga plain, the Piedmont points of the Western Ghats. Crops that can be grown on this soil are wheat, cotton, pulses, tobacco, oilseeds and potato, to name a few. Laterite soil. These are found in regions having high temperature and high rainfall like Goa. Because of the high rainfall, there is intense leaching due to the heavy rains. You will see that the humus content in the soils is low because the bacteria get destroyed due to the high temperature. The high temperature kills the microorganisms present in the soil, basically bacteria. However, we can see that with adequate manure and fertilizers and soil conservation techniques, this soil we can carry out cultivation in this soil. Crops grown here are tea, coffee, cashew nuts. Arid soils. These soils, as the name suggests, are in places which are basically dry. They are sandy in texture and are saline, high salt content. They lack moisture and humus, so having the high salt and calcium content. In fact, these are regions which are the sources of salt, table salt. Kankar or impure calcium carbonate content is high, which form like a film and reduces the infiltration of water. Nitrogen is insufficient while phosphate is normal. Its color can be from red to brown, and they are basically sandy in texture. However, this land can be used for cultivation after irrigation, like in western Rajasthan. This is a picture of the arid soil and the kankar that is present in these soils. The last type of soil that we have is forest soil or mountain soils. We will see that the humus content here is less and the soil becomes acidic in nature. It is immature soil with low humus content. It is loamy and silty in the sides of the valleys. You will see that being mountain soils or forest soil, they are along the forests of the Himalayas and in the lower parts of the valleys. Alluvial fans form when the waters come down the mountain soil. This is a picture of the mountain soil. We now come to the last subtopic of soil. It is erosion and the conservation methods. What is the definition of erosion? It is the denudation of soil cover and its subsequent washing down. Why does the soil get washed down? The causes of erosion are human activities that we have cited earlier, and also natural factors like wind, water, glaciers. These are some of the human factors that erode: deforestation, overgrazing, construction and mining. Also, we have got logging. When we cut trees, the soil cover gets a chance to degrade. Open pit mining. Mining also enables the wind. Besides the water, there's also wind erosion that takes place here. Earth moving equipment used for construction. When we have paved parking, there is no place for the water to seep into the soil, therefore the soil will erode. This is exactly what happens when water is an agent of gradation. You will see the water flows down in the form of a sheet, which is known as sheet erosion. It comes down the mountains, making deep valleys. So the water moves whichever side, depending on the slope of the mountain, the water will move, and if the gradient is on this side, the water comes down, digging deep channels into the mountains, which are known as gullies, giving rise to gully erosion. Types of erosion are gullies. These are running waters which cut through the clayey soil, making deep channels like these. You have got badlands. Because of gully erosion, you will see land gets fragmented. So the land becomes unfit for cultivation and eventually is known as badlands. You have got ravines in the Chambal basin. Sheet erosion commonly occurs on recently ploughed fields and other sites which have got land exposed and no vegetable cover. So what do we do? What are certain conservation methods that we can use to conserve soil erosion? Methods of soil conservation. First, we have contour ploughing. What is contour ploughing? It is ploughing along the contour lines, that is on the hill slopes, which decelerates or reduces the flow of water down the slopes. And this is, second is terrace farming. Steps are cut out on the slopes, making terraces. You can see the difference in these two. These are like huge steps which are cut down, while these are along the curvature or the slope of the curve of the hill, you will grow your crops. So terrace cultivation restricts erosion. Western and central Himalayas have well developed terrace farming. And the last two methods are strip farming. Large fields can be divided into strips where strips of grass are grown between the crops to break the force of the wind. And shelter belts, planting lines of trees to create a shelter, also works in the same way. Rows of trees, huge trees, big trees like these are referred to as shelter belts. These shelter belts have contributed to the stabilization of sand dunes and stabilization of the deserts in western India. If you see the difference, here we have a huge field with just grass growing in between, while these form big trees to break the velocity of the wind. With that, we finish the lesson, Resources and Development. Here are some questions for assessment. You may please solve them.